Good evening, viewers. Welcome back to our show called The Inside Story, a program where we talk and discuss about several issues and topics that are concerned for the society. And in today's episode of The Inside Story, we will be discussing on the 48-year-long journey of our state Meghalaya, the good, the bad, the ugly and the nasty. Well, we all know that Meghalaya, the abode of clouds, has come a long way since 1972. Much have been achieved, many milestones crossed, many contributions and successes acknowledged and celebrated. But amidst all these, one cannot overlook the fact that the northeastern state is still grappling with several problems like unemployment, political instability, corruption, rising crime influx, besides others. Over the years, Meghalaya has witnessed an unending saga of turmoil and tension over several issues like coal mining, border dispute, power tussle, and many more. While we celebrate our statehood, let us look back at what we have achieved so far, what we have lost, where we faltered, how many mistakes we made, and how can we learn from those mistakes. In today's discussion, we will retrospect the 48th statehood of Meghalaya. But before we go into the discussion, let's first have a look at the short video report.
48 years ago, a peaceful revolution led by our leaders, some of whom have left for their abode, saw the birth of a new state in India, a state known for its natural beauty and home of the clouds, Meghalaya. It was in 1972 when Meghalaya got its statehood, and ever since the state has come a long way in terms of development and progress. But the journey is not over. The climb on the developmental ladder is still going on. Introspecting the state's journey, one can say that while the start was glorious and peaceful, the 48-year-old ride was not that easy. Living up to the legacy of our forefathers was a challenging task, as along the way, the state trotted many bloody paths, many of which are contradictory to what our beliefs are. But like every state's journey, Meghalaya went through the good and the bad, mistakes which we can learn from, and achievements which we can be proud of. The destination is not what matters. The journey, on the other hand, determines the strength and capability of a nation, and in today's episode, we are going to analyze the strength and weaknesses of Meghalaya, the achievements and losses in these past 48 years, and the expectations of the citizens.
Welcome back, viewers, and just to remind you, today we will be talking about the journey of Meghalaya in these past 48 years. But before we do that, I would like to introduce our panel members. We have with us Mr. Rudy Warjri, who is a former diplomat, and we also have Mr. Fabian Lingdor, the former chairman of KHADC and a renowned columnist. And we also have with us Mr. Mayborn Lingdor R, who is a young teacher and also a columnist. We welcome all of you to this show, and I'm really grateful that you could spare your time to be here with us. Moving on with our discussion, I would like to ask the first question to Rudy. 48 years ago, Meghalaya attained its statehood. How do you think the journey was so far?
Before I answer this question, in fact, that video footage of the Hill State movement and the creation of Meghalaya in that period makes me feel very nostalgic about it. Particularly because I was a young teenage volunteer in we call it the non-violent direct action that time. I remember it was 10th of September 1969 when we went to picket in front of the secretariat. That time there was the Assam secretariat, and so we were prepared for the worst that it can happen. But the Assam government didn't take any action because by then I believe they were instructed not to do anything, because the central government in the center, I think Mr. Y.B. Chavan was Home Minister, Mrs. Gandhi was the Prime Minister, of course, and she instructed the Assam government not to take action because they already recognize the fact that we deserve to get the hill state.
Okay.
So that's just for the personal part of it. Now coming back to your question, well, the fact that we got the hill state in 48 years is an achievement by itself. Among the reasons what prompted to fight for the state of Meghalaya was, of course, when Assam declared that time that Assamese should be the official language, and I think that prompted all the groups and the parties to unite together under the banner of the All Party Hill Leaders Conference at time to fight for the hill state. Now the question is to what extent we have lived up to that. I can't help mentioning this, that one of the hill state movement leaders at time, I think it was Professor G.G. Swell, who said to make Meghalaya a patch of beauty and grace and a shining outpost of India. So when you look, for me, I look at it, is it a patch of beauty and grace and a shining outpost of India? When I look at it, certainly not. But having said that, I think the statehood has given a lot of opportunities to the people of Meghalaya to be able to express themselves much more on their own. And so let's say what struck me, in fact, is you have a lot of young people today who are more talented, more creative, even smarter than what I was at that time. And but the question is, what are the opportunities for them? So there are no opportunities for them. Most young people whom I come across here, in fact, that is one thing which motivates me to be involved with them. I am part of this Run Meghalaya, where we help young people to promote themselves, to have talent for sports, for running. I'm also associated with the kickboxing, because when I see these young kids performing, I get very encouraged. But the question is the system providing them opportunities for the future? So that this is a challenge, and I don't see any seriousness in that at all. So this is something which is a little disappointing to me.
Okay, Fabian Barodi said that it was a peaceful non-cooperation movement back then in 1972 when he got the statehood. Do you think we've been able to live up to that legacy now?
I am of the view that whatever we aspire in the beginning of any movement, usually it is not achieved 100%. But I also remember when I was a boy, around 7-8 years old, I witnessed that march. We won hill state with the youth, even in the villages. I remember in Boilumbong village.
Noel State Norris.
Yeah, Noel State Norris. It was something that was very interesting even to our little children to see that. And when I see that condition during that time and compare with today, there has been a lot of change really in the number of even in the population, even in the housing conditions of the people, education. But we cannot contribute all that to the statehood. That is partly by the people, as a people themselves. Under whatever administration, the people by themselves can also achieve something. But attaining statehood indeed helped us to reach to the stage we are today, though we have not achieved what we want. What really motivated the people in the records why they won the hill state was actually of the opinion that the 6th schedule is not inadequate. District councils is not really autonomous. So unless we have a state government of our own, a state of our own, we cannot protect, we cannot preserve our identity, our culture, our rights as tribals. But I have seen in the present situation, it seems that the district council and the state government are in conflict.
Yes.
But really, the real thing why the Hill State was fought was because the district council was not fully competent, and the sixth schedule itself is inadequate to be independently the instrument for our protection, for our development. So the state was achieved, and according to me, lots of things have not yet been achieved, but at least so many things also have been achieved when we compare to the health condition, the education, and all that. So for your questions, I say I would like to add with Barudi that we have not yet achieved yet to the limit we have expected.
Okay. So, Maybon, what is your observation as a young person?
Well, as a young person, like I'm someone who observes a lot. Though I'm young, but then I think, as far as I've observed, I can see that Meghalaya as a state is acting more like a middle-aged man who has lost all that youthful vigor and strength, but would still like to be called young, just like our chief minister would like to call it. Meghalaya is a young state. Everywhere he goes, he calls it a young state. 48 is not young. 48, you cannot call a man of 48 young. 48 is that age where you have ripe. 48 is that age where you are mature. 48 is that age where you have traveled the world, you have furled your wings, and you have achieved a lot. 48 is that age where you take care of your children. But then if we continue to live with that idea that Meghalaya is young, then who is old? Then who is middle-aged? And if you also take a look at, like he talks a lot, like not just our chief minister, the present, but also the former before him. They keep talking about development. But where's development? See, we are being placed in a very difficult position here right now, especially the youths. Because if you take a look at the jobs that are being provided in the government sector, the jobs are for those that have a degree only till the graduate level. What about those that have a master's degree? So the people that have a master's degree, like if we take a look at it, it seems as if that they have wasted 2 years of their life. 2 years is a lot of time. And then if you take a look at jobs in assembly and all, most of the jobs are being occupied by students that have only passed class 12. And if you also take a look at the jobs that are really there for the people that have completed the masters, it's only in the schools. And now in the schools, they want B.Ed. So B.Ed in order to have a deficit pay, and in order to have a government pay. So basically, even now schools, private schools, who do not really give this ad hoc pay, who do not give this deficit pay, they still want B.Ed. So it means that for us, young people, we will have to waste 4 years of our life to study for a degree and get paid less than the people who have passed class 12, who are there in the assembly, and also most of the people that are competing in the MPSC exams and the other exams, they are only having a BA degree. So it means for us who are having a master's degree, it's a waste of time. And that is something that I would like to put forward to the government. Where are the jobs? Where are the development?
Okay. We'll come to education a little later again. But right now I want to talk about, the various sectors that the state has really improved in these past 4 decades. Where do you think that Meghalaya has, really succeeded? Which sector do you think we have done really well? Barudi.
If you are saying about which sector, well, as Fabian also was saying, there are some parts of it which the state has improved. If you, let's say, access to education, yes, it's better, but there's much more to be done.
Okay.
Health, yes, it's better, much more to be done. Now, I would like to, if you are coming to that, I would like to just refer to this, the government of Meghalaya, this is government data.
Okay.
The government of Meghalaya had submitted certain things to the 13th Finance Commission from Government of India when it came here last year. And it says about, let's say, poverty level, okay? This is what the government says. The proportion of people in Meghalaya living below the poverty line is exceptionally high, 33.87%, as against the national figure of 26.10%. This is the government. Now, education, it says this needs to be properly nurtured. However, the potential of the talented people is being stifled by inadequate access to quality education, vocational education, training in languages, training in computers and IT, technical training, business and management. This is what the government is saying. Then Meghalaya lacks in providing good quality teachers training, skill-based secondary. Healthcare. In healthcare, it says infant mortality rate is 42 per 1,000 against the national average of 37. Okay, so these are some of the things which is, now if you come to industrial development, the government itself says that industrial activities are still in a nascent state in the state. There's nothing. That, what Ms. Mehbon also was saying. Now, power. Meghalaya is at present a power deficient state. And much more has been talked about power supply here in the state. So, now if you're talking about what has developed, to certain extent it's because what Fabian was saying, despite the government, people have been able to achieve something. Be it education, let's say tourism. Our people have become at least proactive in having this homestay. A lot of people get their income through the homestay today, guest houses. Okay, the government also facilitated, give the credit to that, but it's also because of the initiative of our people, our young people, who couldn't get jobs otherwise from the government or from the system. Because if you are talking about jobs, then there has to be a private investment. You have to allow that. The government cannot do everything. The government doesn't even have the funds to do it. So you have to allow that private investment to take place, and government should come up with policies to attract that. So this is the way I put it. It's not that the government has achieved anything on its own. It's because the people have been able, the little that is there, that the government is there, the people have been able to take advantage of it.
Okay, but Fabian, I would like to talk about, politics, since you've been in the field. What do you think? Why do you think Meghalaya has the problem of political instability? There's so much of instability in governance. Why do you think?
The first thing I said is because we have parallel authorities, the district council as well as the state government, looking after the same territory and the same people. But it should not be any conflict. Because the very Hill State movement, as I said, is because the 6th schedule is inadequate and the autonomous councils cannot fully function as an independent body under the state of Assam in the period. But now we have the state government of our own, which can not be in conflict with the district council. And the district council cannot be in conflict with the state government. But you see, the state government of Meghalaya and the state of Meghalaya itself is based on the territory of the 6th schedule. But now we tend to describe that the territory of the state of Meghalaya is only the 3 wards of Shillong. No, that is not true. Actually, the territory of Meghalaya is the territory that was in the past the territory of the United Khasi and Jaintia Hills District Council and the territory of the Garo Hills District Council. Therefore, the government has the authority over the territorial administration of the state. But the view from the district council is always, this is not of the government, this of the district council. especially if we have leaders in the district council who want to show more authority, then more conflicts will be there. And another thing is political stability. We say instability. We say is because we have two tribal communities, basically the Garos and the Khasis. Okay, Jantia Penar people are part of the Khasi. You see, even the job reservation policy is divided between the two. So there is always it's natural there be a conflict between two different tribal communities. But as far as I see, even in the very Hill State movement, it is sad to say that it was Captain William Sangma who always took the lead. We have Wilson Reed. Okay, he was president of the Khasi National Dorbar. We have Reverend J.M. Nichols Roy also. Okay, these are, but actually who drives the movement, as I read in the records, was Captain William Sangma, Son Sangma. That's why he became the first chief minister. And always, from our community side, Khasi side, we think that the Garo should not be the chief minister. But at the same time, our representatives are unable to stand on themselves. They have to put a Garo as the chief minister, okay? Because this is inherent in our culture. Because we Khasi people are thinking that we are all equal. There cannot be someone above us. We should elect somebody who is outside our community. This is particularly because I say even in the past, in the traditional setup, the same chief institution is appointed always from the family from outside the Hima. Okay. By the Bakrao family who founded the Hima, they are the masters and they appoint some family from outside the Hima to be the Siim, because they cannot stand someone from among themselves to be on the top. So it is better that someone very ordinary from outside the Hima be the ruler. So we have all this kind of in the psychological makeup of our community that makes up all these conflicts and political instability comes.
So can we say, like, we have less leaders who have leaders who have already come out of that mindset? Do you think like we don't have such leaders who actually think about the overall welfare of the three tribes?
Sadly, I say at present I don't see much of such leaders, but in the past there were. In the past years, I saw so many competent leaders among the Khasis, but today very less in the political field, though some are still there. But that psychology is not only in the leaders, but it is among the people at large. Instigation will come from the right and the left, and the representatives are bound to listen to the voices of the people. But largely, as I said, if you take the whole 48 years, mostly we are led by chief ministers from Garo Hills, more competently, because from the Garo people, they do not conflict the leader. Okay. Recently, we have much conflict because between the NPP and the Congress, because of change in the center also. Otherwise, there was little conflict among the Garos that Mukul should be the chief minister. But if we have the Dilapang as a chief minister within 3 months, there will be conflict among the Khasis, not from the Garo side. Okay.
Can I add something here?
Yes, ma'am.
You see, the way I see here, one of the instability, what adds up to the instability, of course, institutionally, Fabian is very right about this conflict of interest, turf fight between the state government and the KHDC and the district councils. But what I want to say is these pressure groups. These pressure groups here, to me, indirectly they're some kind of parallel government. It appears to me that they really call the shots in many ways. And there's so many of them. In fact, I don't know how do they raise the finance. I tried to look at the website to see if anybody, how they conduct all that, how do they sustain themselves. I cannot find anything. but the ability to pressure the government is tremendous. And this way, it's very difficult for the government to really do anything decisively and really take to logical conclusion any decision, whether it can be education, it can be health. Now, even in health, for instance, now, right from the center, right from the state government, they are all in with one mind to, let's say, this measles rubella mission. There were, when the deputy commissioner was given order that all schools should cooperate, there were some from pressure group who oppose it and say that if the parents are not willing, you can't force it. Now it becomes very difficult to function like that. And there are some families I know who didn't take that vaccination, but they suffer. And when they suffer, they don't know where to go. It becomes a risk to the others also in terms of infection, and at the same time is because the government was not strong enough. So things like that. So this is again adds to the instability.
What is your observation, Meewant, on politics in the state of Meghalaya?
I strongly agree with Sir Rudy here. Like in our state, there's a government, there's a sub-government, and there is a sub-government. And the sub-governments are being organized, and they are being formed by these people. And if you take a look at the pressure groups, like Sir Rudy has already said, the pressure groups and their role in Meghalaya is tremendous. And the way the pressure groups function is also to a certain extent it is quite interesting, and to a certain extent it is also quite annoying. Because the pressure groups in Meghalaya, they come up with issues every now and then, but they will never fulfill. Like those issues will never get solved. We have been fighting for ILP for how long? I think for 6-7 years now. I can still remember. And then you can also see how these pressure groups, they change their names every now and then. First it was COHSO. When we were fighting against CAB, suddenly it changed to COMSO, which was like, what happened? Like, from where did this COHSO turn into COMSO? And then after some time, at the very same time, on one day we have a rally by the KSU. The very next day we have a rally by the COHSO. Even the pressure groups who are working for the people are actually working separately. That makes no sense. And if there is already a KSU that has already been there for so many years, why is there a need to form an HYC? If you are both students, Khasi Students Union, and then Hinyotrep Youth Students or Council or whatever, why can't you work together? There is this, right from the government, right from the very top till the bottom, there is greed for power. We all want power. In no time you will see a president of the KSU standing in the elections, help the people. Secretary, help the people. Then everyone. Very soon we'll see each and every single president or vice president or the secretary of these pressure groups standing in elections. If your goal from the very start was to become an MLA or a minister, then why participate in the pressure group, or why take that armor of working for the people to fool the people? Just like Abraham Lincoln has once said, you can fool all the people all of the time. You can fool some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. And right now, I don't think we are buying to any of this anymore. We are tired. We are tired of the government, we are tired of the sub-government, and we are also tired of the sub-governments. And if we need to prosper, each and every single individual out there, the youths must understand that we have the power to change our future and we should not depend on these pressure groups, on these governments or these sub-governments. There is no political leader at this point of time which I feel can help us. They can only help themselves. I used to always say, they will always preach about development, but development is what they will bring to themselves. That is the history, and that is what they all live by.
Recently, you wrote an article on politics in Meghalaya, and where you clearly mentioned that, you know, while in the Khasi and the Jaintia Hills we have so many regional parties, when we look at Garo Hills we have only 2 major parties and 1 regional party or 2.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is the case? Do you think that is the reason why Meghalaya always has a Garo chief minister, a person who would lead the state?
Yes, I can still remember writing that. See, like Sir Fabian has already said, that we the Khasis, we cannot stand our very own people to do better than us. We have this inferiority complex and superiority complex at the very same time. We suffer from both. And if you take a look at like our leaders, like if there are so many regional parties. One is UDP, then you have HSPDP, then you have KNAM, then you have PDF, then so many. It's like I can't even remember right now. But if you take a look at the Garos, they have only 1 regional party, which clearly shows the mentality of the people. It means the Garo people are just happy to have 1 regional party where they can all support. Whereas if you take a look at the Khasis and the Jaintia people, we are suffering from all of these different kinds of diseases that are yet to be diagnosed. I hope that we have a solution to that very soon, or else every single office from Shillong is gonna go to Garo Hills. And if for now, if you take a look at the SP office, almost all the posts are being filled by the Garos. You go to the secretariat, being filled by the Garos. You go to any government office, MPRO, MLP, all filled by the Garos. Because the Garos, they will always help their own people, unlike the Khasis. The Khasis, they are very distinct. And this is also the reason why we are at this state right now. It's because of our leaders. And it's because of us. We have to change.
Okay, moving on to development. We see that, you know, whenever the government tries to bring in developments, say expansion of the city and many such things, we always see that you had mentioned about the sub-government, the pressure group coming in between. And we also have whenever we question the government about the delay in the progress of the work, their answers would always be, because it's a scheduled area and it's difficult, it's not our land, it's the people's land, it's very difficult to compensate and buy the land, that's why we cannot construct this, that's why we cannot construct that. But Fabian, do you think that is one such obstacle why Meghalaya is still needs more to be done?
That is one of the greatest obstacles. You see, what I see is, especially in the Khasi society, we don't have a territorial authority. Okay. Constitutionally, the state government is a territorial authority. Even the district council has some authority over the land. But in reality, that is not the case. According to our custom, in real traditional sense, the ultimate territorial authority was the Dorbar of the head of clans in the right, within that right, not in the Hima. That's why we say the Sim was not a territorial ruler in the past. It was the people, but that people takes its own embodiment in the Dorbar of the Bakrao, or Dorbar of the Basans of the right, who founded that right. Say in Right Mulim, how many families, how many clans have founded Right Mulim, and within that right, the Dorbar of the head of clans of Right Mulim constitute the territorial authority. But today, this head of clans in the right has been abolished. right from the start of the British rule. And it seems that the British had attempted to transform Sikkim as a territorial authority, but they could not. And by the 6th schedule, there was hope by the government of India and all concerned that the district council should be the territorial authority, but it could not, even today. So even the Dobrashinong is not the territorial authority. At least the Dobrashinong has some authority, but ultimately the private owner of that land is the ultimate territorial authority. So that is the problem. In Assam, it's not happening like that. In Mizoram, even in the 6th schedule areas, it is the district council that is the territorial authority, not the people. When the district council says that this plot of land needs to be done like this, the people can say nothing because it is for the people's interest. But here, even the state government has to buy land, even the district council has to buy land from the private people. Okay, the Sikkim of the Hima has no authority over land but the clans. And now, by the rich people able to buy hundreds of hectares of land on cash, then that buyer becomes himself a territorial authority in that land. And he says, I cannot allow the road to pass through this area, we are helpless, you see. So there is a lack of definite territorial authority in Meghalaya, especially in the Khasi Hills. We cannot identify neither the state government nor the district council, not even the Sikkim of the Hima is the territorial authority. There is confusion here. Okay,
So about Rudy, yeah.
Now, I want to comment, talking about this land question here. I think it's a very, very critical issue, very important issue. Two comments I want to make. One is that whatever, in fact, Fabian talked about this, what they call rewrite and all that, which is correct. I think the system of land holding may have worked very well, say 50 years ago, even 100 years ago. But let's say even the concept of rewrite or concept of, all this is, that's why there will be a smart person from the right or from the Kur who will capitalize because the others are not as smart as he is or educated as he is, and he will expropriate to his best interest at the cost of the others. And that's why you have, I think, something, there is some data I read somewhere that 70% of the population in Meghalaya, they're landless simply because of that. Even though traditionally it shouldn't be like that, okay? Because the system protects them. It doesn't happen. So this is one part which needs reforms. The other thing is that no cadastral survey has been ever done in the state for land. Now, why a cadastral survey is required? Because you have proper land records. Why you need proper land records? Because it helps the land to be bankable. If it's bankable, it becomes economic asset to you. It's just not the land by itself, but it's become, let's say, a farmer. If he has a proper land records of a system, he can get a proper loan from the bank to really promote his farming. So, because there was some system of giving some help to the farmer, but it's not enough. It's not even working properly, and you're becoming less and less of that. So this system about dealing with land, a proper reforms, a proper cadastral survey, a proper record, I think is a very, very essential, especially now.
So Mebon, do you think the present land holding system that we have in Meghalaya is the reason why many rich people are becoming richer and the poor becoming poorer?
Yes, I think that is also the reason why like Sir Rudy has already said, the way land is being held by people. Let me take you back to England. The reason why the English people are so successful, it's because of the way they function. Urbanization was being brought first by the English people so that they can capitalize on their way of life and they can improve. So from there, the English people have gone on to become one of the most successful rulers all around the world, and particularly coming with the Industrial Revolution. And if you take a look at what happened in England in the 18th century is actually happening here now. See, here in Meghalaya, the people in the rural areas, because they have no education, no proper education, like Sir Rudy has already said, one smart person will capitalize on that. And then the people who are from here, Shillong, they buy land there. And the rich, they buy land there cheap. So the rich will become richer because that is like an investment for them. So the land ultimately will become more and more expensive because they can hoard the lands. They do not need to sell lands anymore. They can hoard the lands, make it more expensive. So the people in the rural areas who might want to buy back that land, they will not be able to buy it. And if you also take a look why the people in Meghalaya the rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer, it's because everything is being centralized by the rich. Everything. You talk about jobs. It's always the rich that will get the government jobs. You talk about business, the rich again. You talk about lands, the rich. You talk about transport, the rich. Every single thing is being centralized by the rich. And who are these rich people? These rich people are those who are in power, or their father is in power, or their mother. And at the end of the day, we, the common people, like me and you, we will have to claw and slog. Even then, our sweat and our blood and tears will not be enough to put us in that position where we need to be. If you take a look at me, I look all that on the outside. I am just like a facade. I am just like Meghalaya. I am Meghalaya. Meghalaya looks good on the outside. It's like a facade. You talk about tourism. People all around the world know about tourism of Meghalaya. If you actually go and venture into these places, they are nothing but hollow shells. Now you go to Wa Umngot. You cannot see Wa Umngot the way it was. It's so dirty now. You cannot see your reflection anymore. You go to all these different caves, Krampuban and all. There it's written Anju loves Rohit. And just recently, I was just having a talk with some of the people who says that tourism actually is helping people in the rural areas. It's not. It is just making them more lazier. And tourism is actually destroying everything. Tourism department is not actually helping people. It is actually destroying people bit by bit. That is something that we do not understand. One day...
So what we need is sustainable tourism.
Yes. One day we are going to lose all of our lands. We will be out of our own houses. Then only we will say that, okay, maybe it was not a very good idea. And at that point of time, again, the rich will be sitting there in their glass houses, whereas the poor, we will become beggars. Just like Susutam has once said, we will become beggars in our own lands because we do not have the vision that we need.
Okay, Barudi, Mepon had mentioned clearly that, it's all a facade, when you talk about tourism also. And we see that, the government heavily depended on tourism for revenue generation after the coal mining issue. So do you think, like, because of the lack of policies and strategies to deal with, the flow of tourists and how you maintain and sustain the sector, do you think that is the reason why, places like Maulan Nong and places like the double-decker bridge are not as what they were once upon a time?
In fact, I'm glad that Mebon, he brought up this subject about the tourism part of it. And now, tourism, what Meghalaya, let's say, that we have the landscape, the geography, the climate, all that is an asset. Now, every part of the world, they capitalize on that. The question is, how do you go about it? What proper policies should be in place? Are there proper policies in place to regulate this? What is required is proper regulation. Now, if you take Maulan Nong, it got a very good name, yes, cleanest city in Asia, and then Mr. Modi mentioned about in his Man Ki Baat, and it got more attention and all that. But the question today is, you go to Mawlynnong by itself, Mawlynnong, okay, it's got a culture of cleanliness and all that, but people who go there and they will throw garbage everywhere, how does it help the system? So sustainable tourism has to be linked to everything. It has to be linked to proper garbage disposal, to environment, to forestation. Now, if you're talking about the route bridge which is near Mawlynnong, there's a very famous man called Gunter Pauli. He's a Belgian man. He came and he went to see it, and he came back and met me. We sat together, and then he told me that you people have this asset, but it's going to be destroyed someday, because the wear and tear which is taking place there, it will not sustain, because everybody goes there. In fact, you walk there, you do there, and some people will take a branch from there. That should not happen. Do we have a government policy in place to deal with that? No.
Exactly.
So this is just one case I'm taking because it's so popular. So I don't know when the proper policy will come. We are talking about it, certainly, but I hope something is happening to really deal with this.
Now, if you talk about migration, Fabian, migration of the people from rural to urban areas, and we already know that Shillong is already a congested city. And do you think, because of the lack of education and the lack of infrastructure and development and investment in the rural areas, is the primary reason why the people from the rural areas are coming to Shillong city? Where do you think, how do you think can we solve this? Where lies the solution?
One of the causes why people migrate to the urban area is landlessness. Say from the West Khasi Hills, most of the land in West Khasi Hills owned by the clans. Those people living there are only like tenants. But since the ban of timber, what I experienced was a large number of people from West Khasi Hills migrated even to Riboy because there are places to stay. Land is cheap at that time to buy. And now it is simple. Like in the novel of Thomas Hardy, Donald Farfrae said, I'll go to the city because money is there. Okay, so money is in the urban center, in Shillong. The budget that is passed, the fund that is given from the central government is here. And those who are able to come here and do something around here will have a share of that money. Those who are in the far away places are out of that circle to how to do something to get out of that money. So even sitting like a hawker in Yodu is now more profitable than planting potato or carrots in the rural area, because you see, land, they have a small plot of lands, kitchen garden. Okay, even the paddy fields in the Riboy area, if you go now, are owned by people from Shillong. Okay,
Exactly.
These people in Riboy area are tenants of the owners of paddy fields living in Shillong. Okay, I do not blame, because we have become a capitalist society. Then the powerful have the right to be more powerful. There is no way how to stop that. I cannot say, why should you be so rich? I cannot say that, no, because we have become a capitalist society. That communal ownership of land is lost. That protection of custom is lost. Now we become a capitalist, totally capitalist, that a rich man can do anything, can buy the whole paddy fields in Riboy, and all the people living there should be his tenants. They have to pay half of the produce to him. Okay, so why the people migrate to Shillong is for to earn a livelihood.
Okay, we talk about Shillong being a major city, like a major city in the northeast. But if you look closely, we see that because of the congestion, many of our rivers, the major rivers in Shillong, are being destroyed, and the government have time and again been talking about expansion, the new Shillong township, and this talk has been going on for 10 years, but nothing concrete really is happening on the ground.
10 years, more than that, I think.
Yes, so like what is
You
your
see, we have another psychology in our community, that psychology of closeness. I have to put some blame on the people living right here in the center. they oppose even to shift the legislative assembly building even in New Shillong, because they want the university right at the doorstep, the legislative building right at the doorstep, everything in Police Bazaar, everything in Maukar, everything in Yodu. Shillong itself is not a city. 1 hour drive in fast driving in Bangalore, it is within the city of Bangalore, but 1 hour drive, if there is no traffic, we can reach from here to Umroi.
Yeah.
Okay, but why do we do not have that concept of the city being up to Umroi, up to this, up to that? Why do you refuse to expand urban development? You see, the thing is, so many people who have in authority do not want to expand. Closed mindset. We do not want to go farther away. We do not go even up to Guwahati or Kolkata for some walk. We want right here. Okay, so it applies to the same thing. We do not want to expand more than from here to even to Laikor is too far. Okay,
Exactly.
so why it is congested? Because we make it congested by we want to live right there in Yodu. No, we want to make even our residential building right in Police Bazaar, right in Yodu. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Can I add something?
Yes.
No, here, okay, that's the people, you're right. But I think the government itself should start thinking of shifting it to New Shillong.
Shifting all the offices to New. Yes.
And it should be decisive. But if the government is not serious about it, then people will, will follow it. That's it. But that's why it's a question of showing some authority by the government. They mean business. I hope this new assembly building which is taking place, I would finally materialize, because this also has been going on for God knows how many years, and the government should start shifting its secretariat there.
Exactly.
So then only is one of you can do something about reducing the congestion here in this city.
Okay. Now coming back to education, which Mebon had earlier spoken about. The government always talk about quality education, but when we look at it, one of the teachers, he had stated that he said that the government talks about quality education, but they do not provide the necessary facilities and the requirements to the teachers to actually provide that quality education to the students. What is your observation? Because you also are a teacher.
So if we talk about education, we will have to start at the grassroots level. We will have to start with the syllabus. See, if you take a look at the syllabus of the MBOs, it is so old that it was only last year that it has been renewed. It went for around 9 years. 9 years. So the things that we learned when we were in school, we are actually teaching that. And if you talk about the syllabus of the class 11 and 12, particularly of arts, because I'm an arts teacher, the things that I learned 10 years ago when I was in class 11 and 12 is the same thing that we are learning now. And if you talk about, and then if we move forward and we talk about they want quality teachers, they want quality teachers everywhere. But the reality is the people who go into teaching nowadays are only the ones who do not get a job. So why do the people who really want to teach, the people who are really qualified, who are really good, why don't they go into teaching? It's because you cannot sustain. We have to think. We have to live. We will have to first be selfish for ourselves, because that is the system. Like, for example, I cannot go and marry someone because I do not earn much. But what will I feed them? It's not even enough for me. How can I think of a family? This is also another reason why you will see that the Khasis nowadays, they take longer to get married. They have 1 children or 2 at the max. Why? They cannot earn enough. And when you also talk about education, now the government is putting norms as such that you'll have to have a DLED, you'll have to have a BEd. Everything that you learn in DLED and BEd cannot be imposed inside the classroom, cannot be imposed on the students. It means you are wasting 4 years of your life for
It's not
nothing.
relevant. That's what you mean to say.
It's not relevant. 4 years of your life for nothing. And there are very few schools that have smart classrooms. That too, only those schools that are being that are under the ADB scheme. How many schools that are not under the ADB scheme? And there are only very few schools, even government schools. You talk about schools in Patakhma. The government school in Patakhma has less than 5 students. Less than 5 students. Just imagine in a particular class. And the government is wasting all of that money on all of these schools. Some schools in Garo Hills, the school does not exist. Does not exist. Teachers are getting paid.
Like ghost students and all, but still they get paid.
Yeah, there is no school actually. And you talk about education. If you want to improve the quality of education, why don't you go take a look at the other boards, just like ICSE, that is one of the best. And again, if you talk about education, you talk of English. If you want to go for a BA English, you'll have to have an alternative English. If you take a look at the alternative English course and syllabus of class 12, it is not even relevant to what we learn in BA English. And if you actually take a look at the syllabus of elective Kasi, it has a lot of relevance with what we read in BA English. So that is something that I do not even understand, these framers and the ones who are part of the board who set up the syllabus and all. For last 10 years, have they been sleeping?
Okay, we are coming almost because of a time constraint. I would like to move on to our next topic, which is also one of the most important sectors in the state. We're talking about sports, because Meghalaya will host the 2022 National Games in Meghalaya. But unfortunately, in the recently included Khelo India in Guwahati, no one from Meghalaya got even a single medal.
Correct. I was watching that.
So, Rudy.
The good thing was that I saw, because I said I'm associated with these sports bodies to the best that I can do, basically to encourage these young people. First of all, about the Khelo India, I watched quite a few of them. I saw some names, especially for our girls. They couldn't get a medal, of course, but the fact that I saw them participating, I think they're mostly from rural areas, is something. It's encouraging, at least to that extent. Now, sports today, even in India, has become, as I said about music, has become something where one can earn a livelihood. And in life, if you can combine your passion with your livelihood, that is fantastic, because that's exactly what you live for. It applies to teaching. I mean, teaching should not be the last resort. It should be your passion. It should be a passion for it. Then you get quality for it. Same with sports. Okay. Now, to what extent? But this is a malaise which is happening in India also, because sports bodies basically in India are headed largely by politicians, not by people with sports background. Nowhere else in the world, which I know, this exists. It should be by people who have some background about sports. So that is one. And then you can, the playing politics part, the promoting a politician heading the sports body to promote himself will not be there. But it's a difficult process. That is one thing. Now, again, to funding part of it. When it comes to funding part of it, our kids' sports can only get recognition to a point where the central government can take some interest in it, or you have today, like let's say, because some of them approach me, some of the real serious sportsmen, about joining the army because they want to promote themselves, because they get more support, or joining the police, or joining the railways, things like that. But the states by itself is doing enough to really promote this? No. Again, it's not, certainly not. It's a sad part, because especially for those who have talent and passion.
So, Fabian, do you think we are ready to host? Are we prepared to host the national games?
Prepared to host a national game, maybe, but are we competent to compete in it? That is one thing. Just to accept it, spend money for the stadium, get some fun, and make available for other people from other states, from other areas to enjoy it. That may be possible just to host it, and get some revenue out of this and that.
Yeah.
But where are we as a people of the state? Do we have athletes? Do we have sports persons competent to enter there? That is the question. I think I doubt on that line.
No, giving an opportunities to me, because I'm associated with them, we can do it.
Yeah.
We send this Atlantic all the way to Jordan to run the 100 kilometers. You know, he finished it, and he was in the top 10s there.
Yeah, which
There-
is very sad, because instead it should be the government who should sponsor them. But out here we see that individual sponsors are doing that.
This we managed to get sponsored from the sports companies like Adidas and
Exactly.
others.
Which
It's
is
not the
sad.
state.
It's just
There's
sad.
very little that we get from the state. No.
Exactly. So, Mebon, we know that states like Assam and Manipur have many sports persons who are very renowned all over the country, because the government out there actually, focuses on this sector.